Spirit like a vampire, I don't need to know you. Come with me, I'll show you. You can find me backstage, I'm a party with a Nicolas Cage. Girl, I want that body, you know you got a body like Nicolas Cage. You ain't gotta be scared, you ain't gotta be afraid, baby. It's just you and me alone tonight with Nicolas Cage.
Hey, this is Late Night Cage Fight. We are the internet's premier Nicolas Cage podcast. And I know that's true, guys. I'm here with Cage Fighter Steve and Cage Fighter Sean once again. We're going to talk about Bringing Out the Dead shortly. But hey, guys, I didn't tell you this before. We ended up on an internet list. We were on a list of best Nicolas Cage podcasts.
Oh, I was going to say, I know I'm on some other lists, but...
Yeah, we were in last place, but that's okay. At least we were listed.
Last place out of how many, though?
It was like, I want to say, it was like 9.
Oh, so we're in the top 10.
Yeah,
that's good.
Top 10 best Nicolas Cage podcasts out there.
You got to think about how to put it in the right perspective. It's not that we're the last place podcast. It's that we're one of the top 10 premier podcasts in the world.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you guys.
Well, Reese, you're forgetting that it was actually opposite day, the day that came out. So.
Oh, it was opposite day. Now you're hearkening back to the last film we watched together. We recently watched Happy Death Day for our Cage List series. That's where we watch movies Nicolas Cage probably should have been in, but is not. And go listen to that. It was an enjoyable experience.
You know, this is a bit of a sidetrack story, but I know you're gonna ask us what we've been up to recently. So
That's
I
right,
just kind
Steve.
of wanted to jump into that.
Well, tell us. What have you been up to?
I was in Japan just last week for work, and I also happened to be there. It was.
Are you an anime director?
Yeah, I'm an anime director.
Okay.
And I got there just before Easter weekend, so that was a bit tough on my family, but it was fun for me. I had a little bit of free time to go and do some things, but I also realized I was there on April 1st, which for somebody like me, if our viewers don't already know this, I'm a bit of a troll and I like pranking people.
Well, you already did because they're listeners.
Right. So I've already been trolling them just because they're here.
Joke's on you guys.
Yeah. So I was kind of interested to see, if there was any jokes or pranking going on while I was in Japan for April Fools, and I was kind of surprised at what I saw.
Okay.
And I think it's a lot cultural because, like, culturally, when Japanese people like prank each other, it's things like, oh, haha, I gave you, an American latte instead of a Japanese latte, or like something minor, whereas like in America, the pranks are typically things like, I kidnapped and murdered your sister.
Sure.
We tend to just be more extreme, so there wasn't any noticeable.
Yeah, that's pretty extreme. Okay. All right. So what happened then?
That's what I'm saying. There was nothing like spectacular and noteworthy. It was, barely anybody like publicly recognized it outside of some of like large global corporations and whatnot. But like,
did you ride the train?
People, yeah.
So you could have gone to the station master and said, "Hey, the train just hit like a family of 5."
Well, I think that might have happened. I wasn't 100% sure why, but my train did get stopped for about an hour.
So you
heading into Tokyo.
That's true.
They said it was an issue with the signal
because
machine, but we all know that that doesn't happen.
Right. Hey, listeners out there, if you have any ideas for next April Fools, for what Steve can do in Japan specifically, be careful though. Be careful, because some pranks may not age well, like finding recently deceased suicide victims in the forest.
And laughing at them.
and laughing and filming yourself.
Yeah.
So I'd say if you're going to do a spicy prank in Japan, maybe don't film it.
I don't even think that was an April Fool's Day thing either. That was New Year's.
If it was April Fool's, then the internet would have understood.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else happening in your life that you want to share?
I mean, I'm home now.
You made it safely home.
I made it safely home.
And that's not a prank, everyone.
No.
Was there any Nicolas Cage in your journeys? In any way,
I did
shape,
actually
or form?
watch Dream Scenario on the flight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did it have Japanese subtitles?
That might have been an option, but I did not turn them on because my kanji is not very good.
Right. That makes me the only member now who has not seen Dream Scenario.
Yeah.
It is on Max now.
Oh, now there's no excuse. So just real quick, what was your impression of Dream Scenario?
Honestly, I need to talk about it.
Yeah. I guess I need to watch it then.
Yeah. It was not a movie. Like, I expected going into it that it would be a movie that I watch and digest and then, and I guess enjoy on my own. But it's kind of thought-provoking in some ways.
Okay.
And there's a lot of stuff that happens that I just I don't feel like got fully answered well enough for me throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And I
can see that.
Yeah, I just I feel like it needs some theory crafting or something like that to just make it more wholesome, more complete for me.
Gotcha.
I just feel like my experience is missing something.
I see.
And maybe I just need to watch it again. That's a possibility too. Because watching a movie on a plane when you're tired and trapped is
that's
not the
definitely
best
gonna affect.
scenario to enjoy something.
Definitely.
I do feel like A24 movies have a tendency to do that on occasion, though.
Yeah.
I mean, just indie movies in general. I mean, kind of keeping the ending a little
right.
ambiguous.
Yes.
Yeah.
A24, especially just knowing that it's A24, I already have this kind of, how do I put it? Not reservation, but just this expectation of anything can happen, if that makes sense. Because they have a lot of really weird experimental movies in their lineup.
Yeah, agreed.
Still probably better than my last plain film experience, which was Morbius.
Oh.
Yeah, I watched a few other movies that I had been sitting on the back seat for quite a while that were okay, I guess. I mean, I finally watched Blue Beetle. I've heard a lot of shit on that one. I didn't hate it.
I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was...
It was fine.
Yeah, it's the same as every other one of those. It's like an origin stories movie.
Right.
And origin story movies are always just kind of disappointing because the majority of the time nothing happens. And that's what an origin story is. So, yeah.
Well, bringing it back to Nicolas Cage, I think it's time for some Nick Cage news. Cage fighter Sean, do we have anything happening now in the zeitgeist?
We do. Nick actually has a new film that is coming out.
Oh my God.
I feel like every new film we get from him lately is something to be cherished because soon we may not have any new ones to look forward to.
Yeah.
So, actually, just a few days ago, his new film, Arcadian, debuted at the South by Southwest. I don't know if you'd call it a convention or an event, per se.
Were you there? Did you go?
I was not, unfortunately. But I wish I was, because it is getting very good reviews, actually. It currently has an 85 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, and it actually, I believe the theatrical release was a couple days ago on Friday.
Okay.
So Arcadian, supposedly it's pretty good. I haven't seen it yet myself, but
what a cool name.
check it out. Yeah.
Now, did they how did they make Nick he looks so much younger in this movie than the previous few movies he's done, where he looks much older. Do you know if they did like any upscaling or anything on it, or is it just they decided to stop making him look like a crazy old man?
Nick actually has a gland in his face that excretes Botox.
Okay.
And it helps to keep him looking young and sexy for all of us. So, little known fact about him.
I was going to say blood transfusions from poor children.
He does have a blood boy. Rumors say that it is Timothy Chalamet, but that is yet to be confirmed.
I did see Dune Part 2 a few weeks ago.
Did you get the bucket?
I did not get the bucket, but I did become converted, and I'm really stoked for Lisan Al Gaib to return. AKA Timothy Chalamet.
I really don't like him.
I don't love him, but I don't totally dislike him.
I don't even have a reason for why I don't like him. I think
if he was in a movie where he played Nick Cage's son, then he would get some more points with all of us, honestly.
Yeah.
Do we have any more Nick Cage news?
That's pretty much it for now. It's been relatively quiet, but yeah, definitely go check out Arcadian.
Now that we're going to dive into the discussion of the movie, probably this is for you, Steve. If you could just have the movies up that we've watched and we're going to watch, so we can let our viewers know. I mean, now you got me saying viewers. Son of a bitch. Anyway, so we can talk about what's to come. Are you there?
I don't.
You don't have
I don't
that?
take demands.
All right. I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to get you ready so that we're not wasting time.
I didn't get to go about what's new with me.
You just got to force your way in there.
Wait, you should have got that in before the Nick Cage news, damn it. Now I'm going to have to edit it.
No.
Cage.
Leave it as it is. Prove that you fucked up.
Cage Fighter Sean, what's new with you? Let's hear it.
So I did just finish Amazon's new Fallout show. Highly recommend it.
Hasn't that been out for like 48 hours?
It's only 8 episodes.
Right on.
Yeah, it's, as you may know, I'm a pretty big Fallout fan. I actually have a corner of my basement dedicated to just like Fallout memorabilia. So
right. I heard you actually built your own Fallout bunker, real one.
Yeah. It took many years to get the zoning paperwork through from the city.
That's great. No, I have seen your Fallout corner, I believe, when we've talked with video.
Yeah.
And it is something to behold. So you must be riding that dragon right now.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty excited because there have been some pretty not great game adaptations over the past few years.
Sure.
And the fact that this was done so well and had some pretty good actors in it.
I am stoked to watch that. What impressed you the most in the series?
So production design definitely is top notch. It's by the team that did Westworld. They really took a lot of care into recreating everything.
That's awesome.
Just visually it just looks perfect. And I think just really the story and script and everything do a really good job kind of towing the line between, the tone of Fallout, which is kind of tricky to get down, because I mean, you have some goofy parts, but then you also are dealing with some pretty heavy shit.
Yeah.
So I think they do a good job balancing that.
Well, what else is happening? Anything else you want to let us know about?
I did also want to give a quick shout out. Well, not really a shout out, but give our condolences to the passing of Akira Toriyama.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I can probably speak for all of us that he is a pretty big inspiration, and really touched a lot of people with his art that he's created over the years. So that was a tough one.
That was really devastating news.
Speaking of inspiration to the members of this podcast and touching a lot of lives.
Yes,
O.J.
Cage Fighter
Simpson.
Steve. I'm.
Also,
And
just recently
you
passed.
already previewed this joke, so I should have known.
He can finally take satisfaction knowing that his wife's killer is dead.
That's right.
Maybe he just couldn't live with the fact that Akira Toriyama's gone.
Did you know there's a comedian, right? I don't know what's the PC term nowadays. Little people.
Funny person?
Little people.
I don't know. Okay.
He's a little person comedian, and he was doing a skit about how he was actually the one that made that joke first. Now his wife's killer he can rest in peace knowing his wife's killer's been caught, and was bitching about how nobody's giving him credit for it, and he has the tweet to prove it. So
Yeah, he's probably right.
yeah.
Another devastating loss.
Yep.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Darn.
Well,
speaking of devastating losses,
Yeah.
Bringing out your dead.
Bringing out the dead.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this movie, Bringing Out the Dead. By the way, if you didn't know, we review Nick Cage movies, and then at the end of the season, we battle it out amongst us to decide the best of the best. Go check out our previous winners. I get the impression that, this movie really blindsided me.
Yeah, I didn't even watch the trailer.
I watched the trailer.
I didn't even know what it was about.
And the trailer is extremely misleading. Like, it truly gives the impression that this was going to be a different kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like more of a straight paranormal thriller kind of thing. And that is not at all what Bringing Out the Dead turned out to be. Let's dive into it. I don't have a Nick list. We watched this together yesterday. If I did have a Nick list, it would just be Nick Cage drives or rides around in an ambulance, losing his mind, looking at ghosts, and doing drugs.
I do have one piece of trivia that I think kind of sets the stage for what you're saying.
Okay.
This is the only Scorsese movie of the 90s to have no Oscar nominations.
This was a flop, I think, at theaters. And a big part of that is what I already said. The trailer really was selling a different movie.
Yeah.
Even the title and the poster. I mean, the poster looks like it's going to be like some kind of zombie movie.
I got that just from reading the description and whatnot, too. I mean, I also, they talked about, the ghosts and everything like that. And I was like, okay. So I was really expecting him to be like, like some Sixth Sense bullshit, where he's like at the scenes and like the dead are telling him like what happened to him or something like that. Yeah, like that's totally what I had in mind.
But in retrospect, I feel like people should have known better. I should have known better. It is a Martin Scorsese film, and it definitely feels like it. You've got these long, drawn-out scenes with characters just bantering on and on.
This was a pretty big flop. The budget was $32 million, and in the box office, it only made $16.8 million back. So, this one lost a pretty good chunk of money.
Yeah, and according to Wiki Pedophilia, it was the final film to be released on Laserdisc in the U.S.
Yeah.
So if you're a Laserdisc collector, you might want to look for that. So this is brought to us by Paramount Pictures. It was slated to be a psychological drama written by Paul Schrader, another legend of film. He's written Taxi Driver and all these other classics, Last Temptation of Christ, I believe. This was based on the novel of the same name by author Joe Connolly. At this time, so Nicolas Cage starred with Patricia Arquette, and they were married at this time.
Yeah,
so
that was
kind
a
of
key
interesting
point I did not know that makes some of the chemistry throughout the film make a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah. I like this one sentence. The plot depicts the life of a depressed New York City paramedic. And then in parentheses, Cage. That's really this movie, man. Like, it's like some Leaving Las Vegas. There's some Wild at Heart. I felt it was like a patchwork of other Cage movies, at least in how he approached this role and the character. But it's just like, it also felt like Grand Theft Auto missions, except you're a paramedic and you got to try to save people. But it seems like the people that Nick Cage's character is trying to save, they either die or just meet some kind of untimely end. So
there were a couple of interesting themes that went on in this movie for me. One of them was very similar to the last film, the last main series film that we watched, 8mm, where it was an extreme version of a realistic scenario.
Yes.
Like, I could believe that all of these things could happen. Now, the likelihood of them happening in sequence and within a 3-day time period and all of the specifics is, highly improbable, but possible. So that part of it was a little tough. I always struggle a little bit with movies that are the true darkness of humanity. Instead of like a fictional, fantastic, or what is the word for fantasized version. I can deal with like fantasized violence, like what's the big show everyone like, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones doesn't bother me at all. All very realistic, all dark side of humanity, but it's so fantasized that there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, it's almost satirical, I want to say, at times. I mean, the hospital where he delivers the victims is just full of like drug dealers and just dying people, wandering, people that need to have surgery, but there's no room yet. So they're just like laying there bleeding.
Well, yeah, and like nobody gives a shit. Like the receptionist is like, oh, you OD'd on drugs? Shouldn't have been taking drugs then, you stupid junkie. Like,
yeah, right. It's kind of your fault.
Right.
You're here. And then the streets of New York City are just full of drug dealers, full of hookers. It's just like, I don't know. It's like Mardi Gras every night, I guess.
Which again, I mean, it kind of makes sense if that's his designated route that he's supposed to be, patrolling. It sounds like he works out of this, super low end area hospital, and I guess he would be.
Yeah, and I love the whole movie. He's just trying to get fired.
Yeah.
He just really needs his boss to fire him.
Yeah.
Please. And then his boss even promises, now just work this week and I'll fire you next week.
Which is another thing that's super realistic and has aged really well. Because this movie's 25 years old.
Okay.
The concept of like needing to get fired instead of just quitting. I think that's aged really well in today's economic market and people's views towards it.
I also think that the depiction of the rampant drug use and homelessness and all that stuff, I think that was a product of the time as well. Because there was just this feeling that that's where the world was kind of going.
Yeah.
Then at the turn of the century, you know what I'm saying? The millennium.
Yeah. It was also an interesting take with the drug thing, where the drugs and drug use was pretty devastating in every scene in that movie, with the exception of the one time that they went to a drug den. Everything then was like super chill, and it was like, yeah. And like,
I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
I agree. But I think it was funny that like the takeaway that I kind of had subconsciously was like, all right, so if you're gonna do hard drugs, make sure you do them with an expert.
Right.
Which is not a bad takeaway for people that are like looking into that kind of stuff. But it was a little kind of like shocking that like I got that message out of this movie.
Yeah. The dealer's name was Cy Coates.
Yeah, I just called him Laurent because he looked like the character Laurent from the Twilight movies. I
liked the switch up too because it kind of you got this feeling that the drug dealer was going to like be a villain later, would probably come after Nick because he was asking for money and stuff when Nicolas Cage was leaving the drug den. We have to get more into the characters, I guess, to explain the scene, but he was trying to save his co-star Patricia Arquette's character, who was at the drug den completely stoned. And he drags her out, and the drug dealer is like, well, you got to pay me. And I'm thinking, oh, this dude's about to become a villain. But then later in the movie, he ends up having to save this guy's life.
Now, I'll be as honest, as trippy as this movie was throughout a lot of points, when Nick came back there to save him, I had this suspicion that Nick was the one that put him in that situation.
I think that kind of speaks to a deeper idea about this movie, or a question, I should say. Is Nicolas Cage's character, Frank Pierce, is he like the source of people's pain and suffering and death in this movie, whether directly or indirectly? It just seems to imply that.
I mean, I think they tackled some of like the mental health issues pretty well, because it was clear that his character was like focusing on the negativity and like really getting amped up on that, and like
character is severely depressed.
Yeah.
He's an insomniac, and the patients that he's unable to save appear to him as ghosts. So he's literally haunted by these hallucinations, particularly of one girl, Rose.
Yeah, I was going to say, there wasn't ghosts, there was just the one girl. There was never any other, like...
Well, yeah, you're right. There was one sequence.
Always the one person.
There were some hallucination sequences when he was on drugs himself. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
But it was really all coming back to her, that he's dealing with the guilt of not being able to save her.
Which honestly was a big problem for me in this movie.
Okay, why is that?
So they played that girl's face probably 100 times through that movie, superimposed on other characters. And then you finally got the backstory of what happened to her.
Yeah.
And he was there for all of 30 seconds. And like, there was no meaningful interaction between the two of them. They didn't know anything. She was just like some random girl that like passed out on the street.
Right.
He tried to bring her back, and she died on the street.
Yeah, and his partner, John Goodman's character,
said, "Hey, my name is Rose," and that was it.
Right.
That was it.
Right. I think it would have made more sense if for some reason he was the only EMT on the scene, and he ended up.
If he was the only EMT, if there was like a stressful situation where like, he was trying to save her, and she's talking about, I'm trying to get out of this life, and I want to get back to my family, and some deep, meaningful character development or something. But like, it's literally just some like junkie that like, and he did make a mistake in the 30 seconds. He kept hitting the wrong hole or whatever.
Right.
But like,
we've all been there.
Yeah, it was just it was not like a major thing, and like, there wasn't enough investment in that character to like feel like it should have been meaningful enough to be the only ghost that he sees on a daily basis.
Well, it's kind of ironic, because there's an earlier scene where he's trying to save a dude that was shot, and he's in the ambulance, and he tells the guy, "Oh, you're gonna make it," and then the guy dies.
Yeah,
like I don't know.
Right, like that seems deeper to me than Rose.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it would have been more powerful if they had more of a connection, the characters. And who knows, maybe that was the original intent and it just didn't work out. I did read that Martin Scorsese stated that he absolutely hated filming this.
Yeah.
And
well, there were a lot of characters that seemed to like not stick to their.
Well, and I need to clarify, he didn't hate it because
Sorry.
of the actors. He hated it because of just how hard it is to shoot outside in the dark in New York City.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I didn't really get that either. I just kind of felt like, dude, you need to just get over it. It felt, I don't know why, I got a lot of Silent Hill vibes from this. You know, like when he's looking at himself in the mirror and the whole, the cinematography, the haze.
I could see him being a Silent Hill pro tag for sure.
Yeah, so I was expecting some monsters to crawl out of the sewers or something.
You know, you would be depressed too if you made as little as EMTs make. I think if this film doesn't do anything, it at least makes the case for why they should get paid more.
But why, man? Did you not see? They work, 3 nights a week? You can drink and do drugs in the ambulance while working?
You can
You can commit felonies.
You can.
Yeah, you can. You can assault people.
You can assault people. You can be selective with who you choose to save.
Well, to some degree. I mean, they did make him keep getting Mr. O, but
You can sexually harass the dispatcher who's just trying to tell you where the next dying person is. If there's anything to praise in this movie, I do want to praise the performances from Ving Rhames, John Goodman, you know, all the partners of Frank.
So they had the actors. I definitely appreciate the writing for them. So I feel like their characters just kind of broke down often and didn't necessarily follow themselves well.
Number one, they have to compete with Nicolas Cage. All right, that's a tall order. Number two, why don't you just write the damn thing next time?
I should.
They would just be doing drugs in silence.
It would be much darker, though.
It'd be much longer? Darker. Oh. Another funny thing is the whole movie, basically the one guy that he tried to save who is, comatose? It's that chick's dad.
Yeah.
He's like telepathically speaking to Frank saying, please just let me die. And Frank is like, no, I have to let you live. It's my job. I have to bring you back. I have to make this girl like me so she'll sleep with me. And it just seems like all of Frank's problems go away when he kills him at the end.
Right.
Like you should have just... Yeah. I don't know what the message is. I guess the message is sometimes it's better to do a mercy killing than to allow so much suffering.
Well, they mentioned mercy killing a few times during the movie. And I guess in retrospect, that was kind of like... That was a topic at the time.
Yeah, maybe it was... Yeah, a contentious topic.
Yeah, because I remember...
Stuff.
I vaguely remember there being a lot of stuff going on in the news about like hospitals that were getting hit with mercy kills or something, or like clinics that were being set up as like mercy kill fronts or whatever.
Gotcha.
I don't remember the details because at the time I would have been like, I don't know what, like 13. But I do vaguely remember something about that going on in the news.
Well, one thought I had about this film, I thought it was very Dante's Inferno-esque. I thought maybe it was a metaphor that this was hell. And Frank's character is kind of like navigating, or purgatory. I mean, it's obviously like a liminal state here, a liminal setting when we talk about, that line between life and death. Yeah, it was just kind of interesting what needed to happen in order for Frank, I think, to get closer to, I don't know, I guess relieving some of his symptoms, no longer being depressed and getting rid of that guilt that he's carried throughout the whole film. I just don't understand why it needed to take 2 hours to get there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, the theme of this movie is if you love your job, then you'll never work a day in your life.
Well, and that's what's interesting is like everybody kind of had their own like ways of dealing with it too. Where
right.
you know John Goodman's character was supposed to be like the foodie, and he's like drowns his sorrows in food. Ving Rhames was supposed to be the drowns in God, and Tom Sizemore, my God, just drowned his sorrows in beating the crap out of homeless people, aka Mark Anthony. Which, fun fact, he did that both on and off the screen.
I just read that.
Yep.
Wow.
He and Mark Anthony did not get along during the filming.
Yeah, and came to literal physical altercations on set.
Oh, no. Poor Mark Anthony's character got the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
That guy, I didn't know what the hell was wrong with that guy. I thought maybe he had rabies because he kept asking for water. And the doctor said,
and they said something about, like, don't give him water. That'll be bad for him. So, like, I kept expecting him to get picked up on, like, a future call or something and, like, be dead. And that somehow play into, Nick trying to bag that chick.
Yeah, I think it was a bizarre character to have so much screen time.
Yeah, but never ultimately played into anything. So again, that's what I mean. Like they had so many characters that they kind of like set up, but then they didn't use them.
Right.
So they didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Which maybe that was the point. That just nothing makes sense. But
maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Apparently, Martin Scorsese played one of the dispatchers too.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
He loves to insert himself.
Yeah.
Was it Killers of the Flower Moon? I did watch that recently. I thought it was good. I don't think it's something I would want to watch again, but he did insert himself into that film too.
Yeah.
As one of the killers.
He was a news guy.
I mean, overall, performances were really good. Nick included. You could tell he put in some effort into the role. I believe him and Scorsese actually rode along with New York paramedics to prepare for this movie.
Cool.
And I do think it portrays some of the darker side of what goes on pretty well. But I think the felonies were really crossing the line. I mean, like the on the clock, like, you know what? Let's go grab a burger and beat up a homeless dude. And like, but like crossing the line, like beating the crap or killing a homeless guy was totally on the table.
Yeah.
But when Nick took a baseball bat to a car window, dude freaked out.
Right.
I feel like
I think he was looking for any
premeditated
excuse.
murder. That breaking a window is kind of low on that scale. Just my opinion, though.
But he had beef with that guy. I think he was looking for an excuse.
Well, and I think to some degree it also, speaks to his character that he has dehumanified these people so much that they are just they are less than animals to him. Whereas a car is someone's personal property, so that has a higher ranking to him.
I see. I do have a question for both of you about this movie, but before I bring up the question, I just want to say that in case I forget later. Nicolas Cage recently.
So you're just gonna. Huh? Oh, okay. No, I thought you were just going to tell us you had a question and then not ask it.
No,
but
that's like a two truths and a lie thing that you would do. Yeah. In a recent interview with Deadline, Nicolas Cage talked about Bringing Out the Dead and said that he thinks it's a misunderstood movie. And he encourages people to watch it again. He thinks it's aged pretty well. He thinks it will stand the test of time. He watched it recently. He said, quote, "It hasn't gone to a high-def digital format yet, but I'm looking forward to maybe doing an interview for the movie with Scorsese because I think it's worth another look. I really believe that is one of my best movies. I was in between Snake Eyes and National Treasure, and I thought it was the most unusual style of filmmaking. It was perhaps the most abstract I've seen Martin Scorsese get with his style, and for me as well.
So he didn't explain what the point was that we were supposed to get? Because...
No, he never does. I mean, there's other interviews where he talks about his philosophy and on film, and really it's your own interpretation, right? That's what he wants his fans to have.
He wants us to hunt for it, like the Declaration of Independence.
Yes. Or the Predator hunting for trophies of people's skulls. Yeah, he thought it was going to be an ambulance action adventure movie. It turned out becoming a, how would you describe this? Spiritual thriller?
I don't even know if I would say spiritual, because, like, there aren't actual ghosts. They're just in his head.
That's true.
Are you
it's like
trying
a
to
psychological...
imply that ghosts are real?
Yeah. What?
Sorry, I'm just trolling.
It's like a psychological drama.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you guys, do you feel that there's a religious element to this story?
No. I don't think so. I mean, especially with just like how nihilistic the world is depicted in this film.
Yeah, that's why I lean more towards Dante's Inferno, because Dante's Inferno, while it's about hell, it's also very much a satire of Italy at the time. Mm-hmm. More so, even. So that's what I feel like this was reaching more towards. But I've been reading, some people consider this to be a spiritual thriller for some reason, or spiritual drama. And I'm just like, well, there are ghosts, and there's one scene where they talk about their Catholic upbringing, the two leads. But other than that, it's really not that present. I did think it was a cool visual. At the hospital, they had a statue of Mother Mary with this like neon halo. Do you remember seeing her?
No, I don't remember that, actually.
The other thing that got me about this movie is everybody in this movie is terrible at CPR.
Yeah.
You know,
the amount of times that Nick Cage just blows into people's mouths, or they just do endless chest compressions with the most mundane force.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nick Cage couldn't even save that girl's dad because he needed her to turn on some music.
On her.
Well, yeah, and turn some music on. I need a beat.
See, I thought that he was going to say for them to turn on Funky Town.
Right. That
for
would
those
be
of
realistic.
you that don't know, supposedly Funky Town is like the perfect beat in order to do CPR to.
Oh, so here's an interesting thing. Did you know this is based off a novel?
Yes, I said that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I wasn't listening when you said that.
That's all right. That's okay. Nobody listens.
I try to ignore you.
I know.
Is it by the same author as Dante's Inferno?
It is by... I just had his name here.
Was that Jesus? His name is Joe Connolly.
Joe Connolly, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. This movie also reminded me of the last time Steve OD'd at the FurCon we were at. What's it called? Anthrocon?
Anthrocon?
Yeah, and I was trying to do the chest compressions, but I had the wrong song. I was using like a Frank Sinatra song or something, but then I used the my Narcan on you, and you were fine.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, you don't remember a lot of things.
Who are you?
Well, that was Bringing Out the Dead. Not what I expected. I'm not sure about you folks. Do we feel like it's going to have a chance this season?
I mean,
I feel like I feel like in theory I should have enjoyed watching this one more than I actually did. Mm-hmm. I felt it was a bit long in the tooth for how much it had to say, which you know.
Yes,
if you're
I
talking
have.
in terms of this season, it's actually pretty much right on course for this season. I mean, so far we've had Snake Eyes, which is a movie, you know, titled about gambling but not about gambling.
Right?
And then we had 8mm, which was, you know, just unnecessary darkness of humanity. And this is just kind of a combination of both. A movie that's not about what it says it's about. And just
Also would like to say that would like to remind everyone that the film in 8mm was not actually filmed on 8mm.
That's right.
Here we go.
That's
and
right.
Sean is he's never going to let that go.
Never.
So it sounds
So, I mean,
like we should call
for
this.
what we've watched so far, I think there's a potential. But in the grand scheme of the ultimate B Cage of fame, I mean, I know there are better. I mean,
Right.
Amos and Andrew was better than this.
So maybe,
I don't know,
maybe
guys. I'm a pretty big mandolin enthusiast, so I have high hopes.
is that what's next?
No, next is Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh,
but
hell
right after
yeah.
that is the mandolin.
Okay. But maybe we should call this season the age of deceptive marketing, Cage. Right?
I was trying to look ahead at the next few movies to see if I would still agree with that, but the only one I've seen that's on there is National Treasure, which is
Gone in 60 seconds, we could time him and see if it really takes him that long.
Yeah, it depends on how long it takes for him to get gone.
Get gone.
We'll see.
Gone in 60 Seconds has a 2-hour runtime. So I'm going to go with he's probably not gone in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
It wasn't a short film.
No.
I was waiting that long for that news.
You're welcome.
For that punchline.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I am stoked, though. Gone in 60 seconds. I may have seen it once. I'm sure I loved it. Twice will not be enough. We will have to watch this one 3 times.
We also need to include Family Man and Christmas Carol in the running too, because those are in chronological order.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, well, in that case,
you
Christmas
that.
Carol wins. I mean, I already know Sean's given that the highest of recommendations.
Right. I mean, I feel like the kids' movies should be automatically discounted unless they are, for whatever reason, exceptionally good. But I doubt it. G-Force. We'll keep that one.
Yeah.
Astro Boy.
Yes.
Is National Treasure the last one we're doing this season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be
So
epic.
we have a ways to go.
Yeah.
It went Gone in 60 Seconds,
Yeah.
the Captain Corelli's Mandolin, Wind Talkers, Sunny, Adaptation, the Matchstick Men, and National Treasure.
Yeah, it'll be a miracle if we actually finish this season by the end of the year.
Yeah. That's okay.
We got some time.
But we can do
okay.
it. I have faith. And I have been forgiven for that young girl's life that tragically was lost because I did not know the cadence of CPR.
It's because you tried to do it to Skrillex. Her artery just exploded.
Yeah, it was very bloody affair. I apologize. Well, that was our review of Bringing Out the Dead. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see kind of how it holds up in our final Cage battle of the season. I'm glad we finally got to this one, guys. So next we will be watching Gone in 60 Seconds. We know that's a Cage classic. A lot of fans of that one. I think that'll be a really fun watch and conversation. Any final thoughts before we call it?
If you don't love your job, get a different one.
Yeah, and if you're gonna be an EMS, please don't murder your patients on purpose just to hook up with a girl.
See, guys, Nicolas Cage movies always have a very important moral, and this film is not excluded from that. So thank you for sharing, and thank you all for listening to Late Night Cage Fight. We are continuing our journey to watch and share in the love and joy of Nick Cage movies. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Check us out at nickcagefight.com. Let us know. Send us a message on Facebook or an email. What would you like to hear? Is there a movie that stands out to you? Would you like to be featured on this podcast? Would you like to tell us how we shouldn't even be on that best Nick Cage podcasts list? Well, now's your chance. Hop on there and let us know. Thank you, guys. Until next time, and Cage out.
Cage out.
Are you going to say Cage out, Steve?
Oh, Cage out.
Jeez.